I am upset. Crusader Kings 3 recently released a new DLC called Cons of the Steppe, and it's a good DLC. You can check out my review for it, where I gave it a healthy 8.5 out of 10. That's a good score, you know? I rated the DLC based on how much fun I had with it, and I did indeed have fun. I even mentioned in the review that I encountered only a few bugs, and that remains true. However, something happened between the early access patch I was playing and the release patch. You see, even on the early access patch, the loading times for the game were a bit longer. I definitely noticed that, but neglected to mention it because, well, my computer is really old and I don't have a very good CPU or anything, so it could just be a me issue. Those have been known to happen for me in my something like 8-year-old computer. That being said, I wouldn't hold a long loading screen when opening the game against the DLC too hard, even if it were something which couldn't be blamed on a bad PC, because ultimately, if my CK3 goes from taking 2 minutes to launch to taking 5, it's not significantly hindering my enjoyment. Whatever, right? That's just me. Well, the release patch came out, and that loading time definitely did inflate a bit. I'm up to around 7 minutes sometimes, and if I'm streaming, it can be like 10 minutes. But again, when I'm streaming, my computer is the issue, given it's under extra pressure from live streaming. Nonetheless, even when I'm not streaming, about half the time I launch CK3, it will freeze up and crash rather than actually put me into the game. I did not have that issue in the early access patch. When I do get into the game, I get an astounding number of crashes compared to the early access patch, and especially compared to older patches of the game. That's when I'm not streaming, not recording, not anything. Just a whole lot of crashes, and when combined with the huge launch time inflation, we now have to deal with crashes leading into long loading times, and that is a very frustrating thing. Now we get into the most serious problem, but one which I approach with caution because it is a multitude of factors. In the past, when I've streamed any Paradox game, it certainly does reduce my frame rate and make the game run slower on speed 5. Yeah, obviously streaming is resource intensive, but the game runs, and maybe crashes once in a blue moon. I completely accept such performance hits for streaming. I want to be clear that I've been a streamer for these games for a few years, and these occasional crashes have never been anything I blame on the game, simply because, again, my PC isn't the best. Nonetheless, even the best PC will have a game crash once in a while. It's normal. I've been streaming Cons of the Steppe for a few days lately. I gotta say guys, it's insane how much this DLC has increased the crash count on my stream. This wasn't a one-day thing either. Since the DLC has come out, all of my streams, except the one where I was just doing some modding in VS Code, have been plagued by crashes, and far beyond that, something much worse. When the game crashes, that sucks and wastes my time. But now, these crashes are causing my browser that I use to moderate the stream to crash. They're causing my streaming software to crash, cutting my stream and significantly disrupting the broadcast. They're making my screen flicker and go dark for a few seconds, and they're locking up my mouse and cutting out all my audio sometimes. Now, look here. Maybe my computer is dying right now as we speak. Maybe. I have not noticed any issues with Victoria 3. Okay, well, I noticed lots of issues with Victoria 3, but that's a different kind of thing. I haven't had any issues with any other games, or with my editing software, or with pretty much anything on my computer. I'm not a scientist, guys, but I've isolated the issue to one particular variable, and that's Cons of the Steppe. I'm making this video for 2 reasons. First of all, in light of these new performance issues, I have no choice but to cut my review score down from 8.5 to a 7. The DLC, in my opinion, is still solid gameplay-wise, but with these kinds of performance issues, which I didn't experience in early access, I have to go back and retroactively change the score. This is a serious issue, and one which my chat informs me is not just me. Apparently many people are having crashing issues. Maybe we'll find out soon that it's an Nvidia card issue or something, or we'll find out that there's some memory leak that's killing the game for people, but until we do find out, I can't in good conscience give this DLC an 8.5 anymore. Like I said before, the extent of my performance woes with the early access patch were longer loading times. Absolutely nothing worth even noting, especially when I'm on a crappy PC. Maybe it was stupid of me to not consider that most people do indeed have mediocre PCs, and therefore my PC might actually be a good benchmark for the average user experience, but I genuinely didn't think it would be this bad. It's not an issue of not playing the game enough, by the way. I played Cons of the Steppe like a fiend during early access because of course I wanted to give the most accurate review that I could for all of you. I'm telling you though, what I played in early access, performance-wise, was not the same thing as what the release patch is now. I don't know why, I'm not making any accusations of impropriety, but somehow, something has gone terribly wrong. I also should mention now that, yes, I am salty that my stream kept on crashing, and that this patch has been screwing over my streams. Yeah, of course guys. Obviously I'm a bit biased because it's directly harming my content, and my content is my baby. But like I said earlier, the first reason for this video is to retroactively change the review score. Given I've heard from others that this patch is crashing a lot more often, that tells me that for whatever reason, this DLC and patch is significantly less stable than I first had an impression of, and you deserve to know that. If you watched my DLC review and chose to buy it based off of my 8.5 and then found it unplayable because of the crashes, I'm sorry for that. It goes to show that maybe I should release reviews after the release patch, but who wants a review a day after the DLC comes out, right? Everyone wants to know right now if it's good. I'll also say that I'm nearly certain it's the patch that is causing the crashes, not the DLC. So whether you buy the DLC or not, if you're on the new patch, you're probably affected. The second reason I'm making this video is because I want to inform the viewers that basically CK3 streams will have to stop till this gets fixed. I can't stand to stream with my entire PC getting locked up by a game crashing, and what I'll probably do is maybe try to stream on my scheduled stream days, but if my computer gets kicked into the mud by the patch, I'm just going to end it there. We're not going to keep relaunching and trying over and over again. Thankfully, I can get away with recording videos without too much instability aside from the pretty consistent crashes, but you know, that I can tolerate. When the game crashes, I relaunch it, put out a YouTube video, and wait till it's done. Then I check if it chose to lock up and freeze, or if it actually got to the main menu, and then I either repeat the process or start playing. I'm a patient guy, and I don't get too bothered by super long loading screens that half the time result in me needing to open Task Manager and force close the infinite loading screen. That being said, as a piece of content, it's pretty unacceptable and will harm the review score. Because the DLC is actually really fun in my opinion, you won't see me lambasting it, but you'll absolutely see me reducing the score and changing my thoughts on the DLC in light of its immense performance issues. Anyway, let's not drag the video out. I'll reiterate, I'm sorry for the misleading review. I'm not evading responsibility, to be clear, but I want to express that I gave the review in accordance to my early access experience. That experience and the release patch are not aligning, so the score is changing. Secondly, CK3 streams will probably go on hiatus for a while until something is fixed. I'm very curious how it is for all of you guys, by the way, because I'd like to get an idea of how widespread this issue is. For me, it's quite crippling, but for you, maybe it's non-existent or unimportant, in which case, hey man, go enjoy the high-quality DLC. It's a good DLC mechanically and earns a high score based on that, but Paradox? Something is wrong with it performance-wise. That's all from me. Thank you for your time.